Hi, I'm Darlene from Ninny's Napkins, and today we're going to show you how to make this floral busted canvas. I'd like to show you today some of the new busted canvas options that we're going to be offering at Ninny's Napkins. So in front of me I have what is going to be one of the kits. There will be others available and the links will be listed in the comments. But in the kit, these are the items you will receive, and I'm also going to show you the additional items you're going to need. So you're going to receive two canvases. One is the stretched canvas that's going to look like this one here, okay? And then you have your canvas board, and these particular ones are 9 by 12, and that's what comes in the kit. You're going to get one primary image and one coordinating image, okay? And these will work together. If you've never seen a busted canvas, we're going to work on one today and show you. So that comes in your kit. You're also going to receive a sample size bottle of the paint that we've thought would coordinate nicely with the papers and the kits that we've put together. You're also going to receive Decoupaging transfer gel, but not in this size. It's going to be the same size as your paint. A paintbrush and an X-Acto knife. And those are what will come in your kit. The additional supplies that you're going to need are a ruler or measuring tape, but a ruler is easier. Pencil, your scissors, and of course we are going to need a glue gun, we're going to need a heat tool, and you're going to want to have some water nearby to keep your glue brush in when you're done and you're focusing on the painting portion of your project. So to get started on this, okay, I'm just going to move a few things aside. So the design that I'm going to work on right now is the floral, and then this is the coordinating paper that we've picked to go with it. So the coordinating paper will always go onto your stretched canvas, and this will go onto your canvas board. So I always start with this piece first because it needs to have an ample amount of dry time, and the reason for that is you're going to be cutting into this canvas and you want to make sure that you've given the board lots of time to dry so the paper doesn't separate. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the excess around the edges of the rice paper. Okay, now one of the things I will tell you while I'm trimming this off is that we have picked together and combined some kits with the primary design, the coordinating paper, and the paint of choice. But all of these items are available for individual purchase, so you can put together your own kits and choose your own designs and colors. Or not kits, but you could purchase those items individually if you don't like the designs that we've pre-chosen. And the link for that to ninnysnapkins.com will also be posted in the comments for you to just browse and see your other options if that's the way you want to lean. So I've just cut off all of the white border on this paper. Okay, and what you want to do is this paper is going to be decoupaged into the inside of the stretched canvas, because this is the part that's going to be cut and is going to be folded out, and you're going to see it after you've put everything together and glued the two boards. So what I like to do is I'd like to nestle it in a little bit underneath the inside of the canvas, but keep in mind once you've got the glue on there, it's not quite so easy to slip in and out. So I'm going to have to trim a little bit of the design off. And I'm going to try to do it evenly because it is darker here, lighter here, and I want to make sure I don't cut out one specific part of the design. Alright, so I feel like I've probably got a little bit more it could take off here. Alright, and then, so I'm good to fit it in that way, and I think we just need a little bit off on the sides. I think a tiny bit more, guys, sorry. Okay, so I think we've got enough there to get that in there, but not have to work around too much. I don't want the paper to start wrinkling and getting caught up on the glue for me. All right. So with the decoupage and transfer gel, you'll notice that it's a much thicker consistency, and so you don't need as much as if you were using, we do use some other products with different mediums, and this particular one is best for the busted canvas. So you're just going to brush a nice light coat on here. And you're going to go back over top of it once you get the paper in there. So just enough to really know that you've got that stuck down. So I'm going to start by going in one end and then the other. Okay, there we go. And just kind of wiggled it in there. I don't want to push it down yet because I can already see I've gone a little bit too far to one side. So I'm just going to lift this a little bit with the scissors just so I can pull it a little bit this way. And of course you do want to make sure if there is a design like there is on this one that you've got it semi-straight. You don't want that to bother you later when you're finishing up the piece. Okay. I just want to make sure I've got enough on the bottom there. There we go. Sorry guys, need a little bit more up there. There we go. I think we're good now. Now I will take one look around it all and make sure. I've got a little clump of the decoupage gel there. But I do want to just make sure that I've got this. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to smooth that out by hand and get rid of any wrinkles. I am going to look at it quickly. Okay, and once you've got that in there straight and you're fairly confident, or not confident, that you are confident that you've got this all lined up. Okay, then you can put your top coat on. All right, so again, we're just going to put a little bit on the brush. And you may notice it kind of has a few air bubbles in it. Don't be concerned as you're saturating or getting the paper wet again, because it's not really wet. You can use your fingers and push those areas down just a little bit to make sure. So obviously you want to make sure you have enough of the decoupage gel underneath for this to stick. Kind of working out an air bubble that I have and getting it to go straight across there. The one thing I like about rice paper is it's forgiving. So it's unlike a napkin when you decoupage. Once the napkin is down, you're committed. I have a wrinkle here and quite a big air bubble, so I'm going to lift it a little bit and push that out. But rice paper it's not as fragile, is the word I guess I'm going to use. So once you've got your paper down and you've worked out all your air bubbles, you're just going to give that sort of like a final, and I'm just making sure I don't have any little buildup of the decoupage and transfer gel. So you've got that nice and flat. I'm going to put that into the water for a few minutes. All right, so we're using the decoupage and transfer gel for this one. All right, and then I'm going to give this a little bit of a dry with the heat tool, because what you will notice when you touch this is that you can feel a little bit of the dampness coming through, and this has to be really dry in order to cut it properly. So we're going to dry this a little bit to help it along. And if you notice any of the air bubbles coming back up, you can just smooth them out with your finger. As it all dries, you will notice they'll stick there quite fine. So the kits that we're going to be offering will involve some floral and fall designs. And then as we progress through the year, we will likely bring out some other ones more conducive to whatever occasions are coming up. So of course there might be some more fall ones, there'll be some Christmas ones, but we want to start with these ones and introduce everybody to busted canvas. So now I'm going to start with the canvas board and the primary design. Now the white that's around the edges, I'm not worried about that because it's going to blend in nicely on the canvas board. Okay, but I am going to obviously get rid of the barcode at the bottom. Okay, and then again, we're going to use the Decoupaging transfer gel. Now you'll be able to work a little faster with this one because you're not trying so hard to fit it into a space like I was with the other piece of rice paper. So with this one, okay, and that's still nice and damp there. And you're going to make sure that you want to center this design on your backboard. Okay, and you're going to want to just hold it up to yourself. Make sure that it looks nice and even. Okay. Give that a little smooth down very carefully with your fingers and let it press to the back. And then if you notice any areas that didn't quite stick, you can lift it up. You don't want to do that repeatedly, but you certainly could do it if you notice that maybe you didn't quite get enough, especially on your edges. Those are the most important. Then you're going to apply a thin coat of the Decoupaging transfer gel on top. Again, just watching for air bubbles and wrinkles and kind of working those out as you go along. And I'm just going to spin this around so I can check all the sides and I can see in different lighting the areas where maybe it didn't quite stick at the sides. Oops, a little clump there. Now, although rice paper is more durable, or sorry, I'm going to say workable than a napkin. I don't know if that's the right word. You do want to be cautious though, because it is still paper. And if you get it really wet and you're manipulating and touching it a lot, you can get, some of the paper will sort of start to pill up a little bit. I'm going to set this one aside to dry because like I said, it's got time while we go back to working on this one. So the color that we're going to be using is Fusion Mineral Paint. Buttermilk Cream, and Ninny's Napkins does carry a full line of Fusion and Country Chic paint, and you can find all of that available on the website, or if you pop in to see us at the store if you're in Canada and in Ontario. All right, so this is the one we're using. The one that comes with the project, though, will be the tester size of the buttermilk cream. All right, so you'll have an option if you do choose to build your own canvas and put together your own project, then you would have that option to look at some of the other colors available. So with this, because we're going to be putting this eventually on top of the primary and curling the edges back, I know that we may see some of the inside wood, so I do always give that some paint, and you just be careful with that. I mean, you could have done it in advance if you wished, but I always find that it's easy enough to just paint that first. And I do usually find we've only had to put one coat of paint on the canvases. That's more than enough. Okay, I'm going to do all my inside edges first. So then I can lay it flat and do the rest. Sorry guys, just getting this inside edge here. Okay, once you've done that, then you can just start applying your paint. So I'm going to do this first, and then I'm going to dry this so I can pick it back up and do the rest of it. And to dry the canvases, I'm using the Ranger Heat It tool, and those are available at Ninny's Napkins. They really help move your project along when you're working on something like this where you'll have multiple surfaces that need to dry. It's very helpful. And while doing this, it's also helping to dry my rice paper and my canvas, which is beneficial. I'm going to flip this over now. We're going to get the top done. For anybody that hasn't used, or for those that have, I guess it's the same, I love working with Fusion Mineral Paint. It's such a nice coverage. This is one of my favorite colors with Fusion. Just little bits and threads from the canvas you might notice when you're painting. So you just kind of grab those with the tip of your brush when you can. Now at this point you're going to want to plug in your glue gun because we're getting ready to put both of the canvases together in the next, 5 minutes or so. We just want to make sure this is nice and dry. Then we're going to turn it over and we're going to start marking the paper so we know where to cut. Okay, so now we're ready to mark the canvas. Now, there are many different ways to mark the canvas and to roll the edges that we're going to do. So I'm going to work on, I'm going to do enough cuts to give me 8 pieces to roll out. And today I'm going to do what we call a tight roll with the edges. And then I'll show you some samples of the other styles so you have an idea of what your options are. So basically at this point, what I love is that the ruler fits right in here. So I just stand the ruler up and I create a little X. Well, a little line, let me rephrase. Then we're gonna go this way. Now we're creating the X. And I am eyeballing this, but when I get to the point where I'm ready to start drawing other lines, I'll do a quick 5 inches, and that should be 5 inches. Okay, so I think my measuring is pretty accurate. Sorry guys, just trying to make sure I know where I am here. Right, so now that I've got the center marked, I'm now just going to take the ruler, whoops, and I'm just going to make sure that it's straight, and I'm going to draw my one line. Okay, and then I'm going to draw my next line. And this is going to give me an X cut, and then I'm going to take those sections and I'm going to divide them into 2. Whoops. All right, so I know it's almost impossible for you to see, but we've drawn our X. I think you might be able to see it here on the lighter part of the paper. And then I want to take each one of those sections and I want to draw a straight line . And these are my guidelines to cutting. So that's why I'm not worried, because once I cut the paper, these pencil marks aren't going to be visible. And then I've got to do the center section. Now you can be more specific with your measuring. I've always kind of trusted my eyeball and it hasn't failed me yet. That might change, but all right. So now that we've drawn the lines on the paper, I always start with the X-Acto knife. So what I do is I need something to put underneath here. I'm going to use my little tester bottle. And I'm going to do it this way so you guys can see it. So I always do my 2 big lines first. And I don't cut quite to the edge of the canvas. You're going to get pretty close, within a 1/2 inch, but you want to make sure that you've left a little bit of the inside edges covered, which will make sense when I start rolling. So I'm just going to very carefully push through. And this is the importance of having the canvas really dry. And the reason I cut from this side is because I'm pushing down against this back paper. If you flip it over and you're cutting this way, you're pushing down on the inside paper and you risk the 2 layers becoming separate. So it could be fixed with more decoupage, but I'm just trying to save that step. So I'm going to continue on and come up to this one. Okay, and like I said, leaving about a 1/2 inch on each side. Okay, and then I'm going to just turn it a little bit, and now we're going to cut. Now at this point, it's no longer very taut, so you're going to have to hold this, and you're going to have to do your next cut up here. After these cuts, and don't worry if you slip a little bit off the line, because I'm not going to lie, I just did. You're going to be rolling this up, and if you happen to notice anything, you can, like if it's really crooked, you can straighten that out, because I'm not going to lie, that one's a little wavy. And then I'm going to do this one. This pencil line is just not near as visible, so hold on here. Once you've got your primary X cut, I'm going to use scissors now to cut the remainder. Okay, and I'm just going to cut these right up here. And you're creating the 8 pieces that you're going to fold back. One more and we've got them done. Okay, so now when you flip this over, you can see all of the folds that you have. Now at this point, I want to glue this to my canvas board. And the reason for that is until I've got these 2 together, I don't know how much I'm going to want to roll all of these until I see that. So I'm going to grab my glue gun here. All right. And you just need to put a bead of glue all the way around. And this is nice and hot, so I do recommend the hotter temperature when you're doing this, because if you use it on low, chances are before you get to that last section, your glue is going to start going hard on you. Oops. You're going to want to do that sort of as quickly as you can. And then you're going to take this piece, and it doesn't matter top or bottom because it will once you're finishing the design and you're looking at it. But we're just going to make sure we've got that glued all the way around and give it a good push. There. And now we've got the two pieces glued together. Okay. And now that you've done that, you can, I'm just going to move the cord here so I can have better access to my glue gun. There we go. All right, so now this is where you're going to start rolling your pieces back. Okay, so I'm going to do a loose roll on this one. Okay, I thought I was going to do a tight one, but we don't want to lose too much of the design when we're doing that, and that's what you're kind of wanting to make sure. So once you've got a little bit of a roll there, and I'm going to turn this so that you can kind of see inside there, okay, if you can. All right, and we're going to just put a little dab of glue to hold that, and you're going to want to hold it for a second. I kind of slide my finger inside the roll and really push it against the canvas. You can usually only do it from the wider end though. Okay, and we've got that one down. Now we're going to go to the next one. I think I want to make sure I balance this out, so I'm actually going to do this one across, and I think on this I am going to have to cut just a little bit more into that corner because I did leave quite a bit of a gap there. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to curl this one. And again, we're just doing a loose curl on this. And we want to leave, I did that a little bit too tight. I think that looks about right. Okay, another dab of glue. And you're going to do this same step all the way around the canvas. And as you're doing this, you're slowly unveiling your primary image underneath. You just want to take the time and kind of look at the rolls and make sure that they're somewhat consistent so that it works all the way around. Got a little bit of dust on it when I turned it upside down, but by the time we're done, and we're going to do some rub and buff for a nice little gold hue on the edges, we'll be able to cover that up. Okay, and then we're going to start with these ones. Now again, you choose. I'm rolling towards the outer edge, and I'm going to pull it like so. Okay, and then we're down to the last two. And of course, blue strings. All right, and we're on the last one. We're going to curl this one in. And hold these down for a couple of minutes here, or a couple seconds. Okay, and that is your 4 pieces, or your 8 pieces, sorry, rolled back. All right, and you've got your backboard on. Now this is where you can take an opportunity to grab your paintbrush. And I've just noticed we just have a little bit of an air pocket in there, or a little bit of a split, sorry. Now you can take your paint and you can touch up the yellow edge here, or the white edge, sorry, to make it yellow. This is Rub and Buff, and we're using antique gold. These are available at Ninny's Napkins as well, and you will find the link in the comments for that. And what I do with the Rub and Buff is it's just a nice finishing touch to give this a little bit of sort of dimension, I'm going to say, and a few highlights on some of the pieces that we've rolled back. So what I do is I wrap a rag really tightly around my finger, okay, and I'm just going to use a very small amount of the Rub and Buff. You do not need a lot at all, and I tend to scrape it back onto the tube. And I know I'll need more, but I don't want a lot when I'm first starting my application. So with this, I'm going to rub it really softly along the edges and give it a little bit of a gold hue. And then I like to kind of pull it around the corner a little bit and bring that gold up onto the canvas so that it actually stands out. Okay, and I go all the way along the piece, and then I get to a point where I realize I need a little bit more, but I'm not quite there yet. And then we can just also, again, highlight on the corners. And the Rub and Buff just kind of gives it a little bit of a vintage hue to it without it looking really, really, you know, like you're not trying to make the whole piece look vintage. It just adds a little bit of elegance to it with the gold. And I always just rub it on the corners here, like I said, just to kind of bring that up onto the canvas so you can see that a little bit better. And as you can see, it does not take very much at all. You need a tiny bit for this last side, and then you can also use this on your on these pieces here as well, the busted parts, which we're also going to do. And actually I'm going to come down on the corners a little bit. And there's probably still enough on there to start doing the edges here. And all I'm really doing is I'm just creating a little bit of a gleam on that so it catches your eye. And you can go as heavy or as light as you want with this. Depends on the look you're going for. try to lift this up so you can see it a little bit better. Glue strings. So when I'm doing this, I'm just really catching it on the edges, but the edge of that cloth will come a little bit over onto your design. And like I said, how much of it you want is really up to you. On some of these bigger pieces here, I'm kind of being a little bit more generous, but I'm liking the look here. Okay, so I could probably keep going forever. I love this stuff. All right, so, and that's your finished project. And I'll fold it upside right now. There we go. So as I mentioned, I could show you some samples of the other ones that we've worked on. So this canvas goes this way, and we've done a different technique on the edges here. Okay, so these ones we've just fanned out and glued on the edges. And then again, we've accented with the rub and buff as well. This is the one we just did. And this one goes this way, and this one is a very partial. So it's almost this, but just the tip is turned underneath. So these are the three styles that you know, these are just three examples, sorry, that we have here in store. But these papers that are coordinated in the paint colors we've chosen, that's a little bit of a sneak peek at two of the other kits that we've put together. So thank you so much for watching today. And just a reminder, the kits, when available, the link will be in the comments, and you'll be able to purchase these as kits, or you can choose your own paper and your own product, your own paint colors and your own papers, and put together your own.